Good morning. My name is Seafood Dave Charlesworth from KAJUKENBO Napoli here in Naples, Italy. I wanted to make a short video because I've been kind of perusing some of the things that are on YouTube here regarding martial arts, and one of those things kind of struck my eye. I kind of hope you like this video. If you do, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Without further ado, let's get started. There are literally hundreds of videos that propose to tell you which martial art is the best for self-defense. Now I ask you, what qualifies these individuals to judge and make that decision for you? While I am a practitioner of KAJUKENBO, I don't pretend that I'm an expert in Krav Maga, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, Taekwondo, or any other style. Since KAJUKENBO is a mixed martial art, I could claim that I have knowledge and expertise in the styles that make up KAJUKENBO, but that too would be false, because I am KAJUKENBO. I can speak definitively about my style and my art of KAJUKENBO. I can tell you the advantage that I believe KAJUKENBO has, but by no means will I tell you another style is no good, if I myself have no experience as a basis to make that decision. My personal belief is that all styles of martial arts have their benefits, and certainly studying one, regardless of style, will make you better off in a self-defense situation, vice not studying anything at all. All martial arts pretty much have the same purpose, and that is to learn how to fight, or the study of inflicting violence on another human being, or countering that violence. It sounds kind of harsh, doesn't it? But it is the truth. While it is true that some martial arts and the way that they are taught today are geared more towards sport, with the idea that what you learn will be used for competition, with self-defense being a secondary benefit, vice the primary goal of the martial arts in question. Now, with sports martial arts, there are rules, and rightfully so. After all, we want to compete, but we don't want to get hurt. We don't want to end up in the hospital as a side effect of losing the competition. Or even if you win, you sometimes come out feeling pretty knocked around. Here I would argue is one of the fundamental differences between most martial arts and how they're taught today. Conversely, what you train for and how you train will be how you respond in a street fight situation. It's hard to make that conscious decision that the rules you play by in training or in point sparring or even full contact tournaments, it's hard to take those out. And unfortunately, those same rules tend to take out the most effective or violent techniques. The reality of combat outside of the ring is plain and simple fact that there are no rules. There may be multiple attackers, and there's a real possibility that weapons may be in play. I've yet to see anyone pull out a knife in the UFC or any of my local tournaments, let alone a firearm. Don't forget that along with no rules, there's no referee to break up the fight when one party's had enough or a vital area has been struck. No one's going to wait and allow you time to recuperate before continuation of the fight. Now, with that said, I've also heard people state that the ring is a good place to test your skills, especially against trained fighters. Now, while this is true to a certain extent, their friends aren't going to jump in. No one's going to sucker punch you from the side or break a bottle over your head as their friend is taking a beat down. And then again, there's no rules that'll keep your opponent from punching you in the throat, gouging you in the eyes, or kicking you in the balls. Let's not even get into throwing sand in your face or spraying you with mace or pepper spray, or maybe just picking up a stick or baseball bat or drawing a knife. My point being is there is a huge difference between sport martial arts and combat martial arts. I would argue that it's better to prepare to defend your life and those of your loved ones should the need arise than to try to forget the rules in a stressful situation when there is no time to think and you must simply react. After all, sport is for fun and a lot less stressful than any street situation may be, independently of how many attackers, weapons, or any other factors that may come into play. You can add rules to a sports situation, while the converse is much harder to do. In the street, you'll want to avoid committing to a one-on-one engagement, such as grappling and the use of submission holds and the like. While they're very effective if the fight remains fair and one-on-one, they are a liability that in effect creates tunnel vision as you focus on the one opponent and eliminate your ability to defend against multiple attackers that decide to join in. Even if you remain aware and see the other attack coming, you have to release the grabbing technique to defend the new attack. And now you're fighting multiple attackers, and likely from a compromised position, which will limit your mobility and your ability to counterattack. With sport martial arts, regardless of style, you know the fight's going to happen, when it's going to happen, what rules there are, and there's a clear indication when the fight is going to start and when it ends. You're able to prepare both mentally and physically. In the street, there is no prearranged time, there is no bell that tells you to start and to stop, and it usually just happens. You're not squared off in a fighting stance and waiting for the signal to begin. You may be walking down the street, waiting for a bus, a train, at the ATM, or maybe you're just in a bar talking to a pretty girl who just happens to be someone's wife or girlfriend, and it just happens. Self-defense is not a sport. It is likely a real life or death situation that calls for a real life approach to be prepared to defend yourself when it happens. Today's news should be enough of an indicator as to why it's important to prepare yourself for the likely possibility that you might encounter a situation where it is necessary to be prepared and just react. So, what style should you take? Well, I'd say that depends on you and your motivation for seeking the martial arts. If it is for self-defense, then I would suggest that a combat style of martial arts, preferably one that was made for the streets and not the ring. If we're in agreement, then the choices are pretty limited. I practice KAJUKENBO, which is a street fighting style that was born in Hawaii in the rough streets of the Palama settlement following World War II. It was born from 5 masters who met in secret with one goal in mind: to develop a no-nonsense and effective martial art, and to develop the ultimate system of self-defense, which just happens to be tailor-made for the streets. They met in secret, sharing their techniques, finding the strengths and weaknesses of each individual style, and tried them out against each other, exchanging ideas and filling in the gaps. They called themselves the Black Belt Society. From 1947 until 1949, they brought a different style to bear in the effort. Each brought a different style to bear in the effort. They created the techniques, trying them out first on each other, and then they took them out and tried them in the streets. What was effective remained and was refined based off of actual practical execution. Again, trying them out style versus style, making sure the techniques worked against each of the trained fighters' independent style and or experience. Peter Chu brought Tang Soo Do Karate and American boxing. Joseph Hulk brought Kodokan Japanese Judo and Danzin Ryu Hawaiian Jiu-Jitsu. Frank Ordonez brought Japanese and Hawaiian Jiu-Jitsu. Adriano Imperato brought Koshu Ryu Kempo, Okinawan and Japanese Kenpo Karate, American boxing, Japanese Judo and Jiu-Jitsu, as well as Filipino Eskrima and Chinese Chunfa Kung Fu. Clarence Chang brought Sulum Southern Chinese Shaolin Kung Fu, or Chinese boxing. KAJUKENBO has been described as a deadly, street effective, and overkill. Each founder brought together their experience in the various styles of what would become America's first mixed martial art that would later be known as KAJUKENBO. Now, for those of you who want to pursue the octagon or MMA, in the UFC, I'd simply state that KAJUKENBO has and will continue to make its mark in the ring as well. So I hope you liked this video. I didn't want to get too pointed and call anybody out, because that's one of those things that I wanted to stay away from. But I do believe that that my style of KAJUKENBO is definitely a very effective martial art, and can complement you and help you to prepare yourself for any situation that may arise in the street. And also, if you do want to do sport martial arts, just say that KAJUKENBO is a very effective fighting style, and we seem to do very, very well in competition. With that said, I appreciate your attention and appreciate your support. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit like and subscribe to my channel. It costs you nothing, and I do appreciate your support. With that said, have a wonderful day and keep training. Mahalo.